Well, he also did that in a way that very much was kind of like he's gearing us up to do a whole bunch of stuff, and he's like, "Cool, I know where you guys are going now. I'm going to make it way harder for you." And so now you want to spec
Yeah.
into ice or something like that, and make it so he has to do something along those lines, and then we'll go back to fire. And we just keep on screwing with him.
Yeah, we're gonna have to start using acid spells
We're gonna
to
have
melt things down.
to.
Yeah.
But that means we'll just trade off who's powerful.
says
That's
the one
true.
says the one who's just always going for eyeballs.
I had a mission.
The
and
eyes have it.
I had a mission and I upheld and I got a thing I can't use.
Yes. Yes.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
see.
But the good news is we're live and we've been live since we talked about burning things down. So I'm sure this is gonna be a great stream, guys. So the fun thing about this whole thing is we're just gonna kind of have some fun and have some conversations about how do we kind of utilize geek therapy in practice, and have some wonderful people to kind of talk to tonight. Does anybody want to tribute themselves to go first? Danny.
This is nose goes.
No, it's opposite day. So
I
today,
volunteer as tribute.
okay, so Daniel will take your tribute. He literally just did the Hunger Games for you.
Yeah. Do we have a counter running this?
I can
Oh,
probably
yeah,
put a
pop
counter in.
Culture references.
Hold on, let me while you start introducing, I'm gonna go find the counter. Go ahead, you start there, Daniel.
I tried to hold myself back. I let you have it, Danny, and you didn't take it. So anyway, I'm Dr. Gameology on the internet, and in classrooms and therapy rooms, I'm Dr. Daniel Kaufman. I own Area of Effect Counseling. I'm a wizard in the Geek Therapeutics D&D game that's every other Friday. So thank you everyone for watching this. This is the usual time spot where I'm trying to burn everything down. And I did my first research study as a doc student looking at personality theory for MMORPG players in the game Star Wars The Old Republic. And I crossed paths with Geek Therapeutics in the middle of the pandemic last year. And I've done presentations on that game and just overall application of Myers-Briggs personality as a clinical tool, and for understanding game players, and also an existentialism based presentation using the video game Journey. I love using different video game genres and titles in my therapy sessions. I probably make too many Star Wars references if that's possible.
I mean, we've got the pun counter going.
Yeah, and
Adam's
so
gonna light this up.
Oh man, I don't try. I do not do not.
Oh.
I do use as many pop culture and fandom based ideas to create insight and create memorable moments in the therapy sessions as possible, because I believe, and some of this is reflecting on my own life, that some of the best life lessons that I've had have that anchor point in something that will stay with me and will stay in the forefront of my mind. And so movies and comic books and superheroes and video games all give me a bigger repertoire than talking to clients about Aaron Beck and Albert Ellis. It doesn't seem to get me very far. But Iron Man and Batman and The Legend of Zelda really seem to resonate with clients in a way that matters. And let's face it, my professors are not in the therapy room, so they don't care if I have a reference to Viktor Frankl. You know, they're just like, did you help your client? Well, they're not there, right? So it's all about, do I think I help my client? And I think that these things that we talk about with Geek Therapeutics help make that happen.
Now I'm gonna call in Danny because now he's not first.
Okay, so I mean, I would have went first, but I was loading the bio, so I touch everything. So, hey world, I'm Danny. You guys see me on here all the time. So I'm a professional school counselor in the state of Virginia who likes a lot of geeky things, all the stuff on the website except sci-fi. But it's okay. Lots of people like sci-fi. You don't need me for that. So I work in special ed, lots of minority populations. Lots of performing arts background. I like to say I kind of got into therapy because I'm super nosy, and it's kind of like you're like a talk show gossip hot topics person at all times. Especially when you work in a school where you have to collaborate all the time. You can't tell everything, but you get to tell the hot stuff. Um, like you don't have to say this kid's nervous about a test, but like if something blaring's happened, oof, well, that's 4 people that have to be informed before rollouts. So my love for hot topics and stuff also inspired the Shape of a Star podcast. Link in the comments now. But it's a talk show podcast where you come on, you hear cool stories about people I know.
Just so we're clear, Daniel's like, what is this mystical magicalness that's going on right now? And he looks like a kid going into a candy store. Just continue, please.
Where you will see episodes coming out soon with people here. Some faces or voices, I will say, will pop up. There's an Instagram, there's a Twitter, there's all this stuff. And I am a certified geek therapist too. Woo! So follow us on everything and join the party because we're always around and it's fun.
It is a lot of fun. Definitely a lot of fun. Who wants to go next out of Adam, Heather, and Lindsay?
I'll go. I'm Lindsay. I'm a school psychologist in Colorado. I'm on my way to being a certified geek specialist, probably because of the way school licensing works. And I've kind of I've been a school psychologist for 15 years in Illinois and now in Colorado. What I found is the packages they give us for counseling in schools have gotten a little boring for me and for our kids.
Yep.
So I started kind of like making my own stuff up. I started out actually in Illinois, I did a lot of testing, and then I moved to Colorado, and culture shock, I had to start doing a lot of counseling, which I had almost no training in. And started out with a lot of board gaming, like Forbidden Island, just cooperative games, because most of my goals are getting people to work well together. And then I started at my new district about 3 years ago, and I won a TV at new teacher orientation. And I was like, what am I going to do with the TV? Because we have enough at home. So I'm like, okay, I'll put it in my office, see if we have an extra Wii. We did. So I am the cool room now with the Wii in my office, and my pandemic project was to teach myself D&D. So I did that, started out DMing before I even played. And then once we were in person last year, I started doing some games with some kids in kind of like a club fun kind of way. And stumbling across, hey, how can I quantify this and prove this to my bosses and like the other people I work with? And that's how I stumbled across Geek Therapeutics. And I'm here and I love it.
We're having a lot of fun, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to choose Heather because I think Adam is frozen and he looks like he's going to murder the pun counter.
He does. He does. Hi, my name's Heather. I'm going to take a cue from Daniel on the internet. I am Starfire. I am a licensed mental health counselor, certified alcohol and substance abuse counselor, certified geek therapist, and certified therapeutic game master. It's a lot. That's a lot of letters. But I am currently working for a private practice in New York.
Oh, no, he broke our screen. Go on. Continue. We're going to go this way. Continue.
Okay. My geek fandoms are everything on the website. What I'm heavily into right now is video games and anime. Shout out to my Final Fantasy 14 Static for allowing me to do this today. I know some of you are watching. I am supposed to be rating right now. But I love to bring in all kinds of different geek specialties into therapy. Again, mostly video games, anime, comics, things like that.
Be doing some switching around here while we get this taken care of. Oh, all right, we got everyone switched back. Thank you for coming back, Adam. Would you like to join before you you cut out on us?
Yeah, that was a heck of a thing. I don't know what happened, but I will go. I'm Adam. I'm Snake Elf Druid on everything. So if you ever try to find that, that's me. I am a huge nerd. I love Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons. I'm part of the Geek Therapeutics Dungeons and Dragons every other Friday, with Dr. Bean, Danny, and Dr. K over here. We all have a great time. I am the titular rogue character. However, I like to think I have a heart of gold. And I just am
stealing hearts of gold. If you saw a heart of gold, you would literally try to stab it out of the person.
They have value. Yeah, we all have value, right?
If you make it.
If you can make it and sell it, everything has a value. This is correct.
True, very true. And with that, I am a newly completed Geek Therapeutics therapeutic game master. So I hope to be utilizing that in the future. If I can if I can prove its efficacy to a lot of people, and I really hope to. So I'm very passionate about it.
Well, if not, then we'll just grab you down here in Texas and make you move, and then just employ you as that. You're like, I mean, we could do that, and I'm over here being like, we can.
I love tacos.
Be the
Tacos
big
good.
heart of Texas then?
Ooh, he could steal the gold heart of Texas.
That was trying to be a pun. I don't think it worked.
It didn't work out very well.
I look forward to this heist.
we're gonna give you one though, okay, Danny? Okay, so I am Dr. Anthony Bean, and I am the CEO of Geek Therapeutics and one of the wranglers of a lot of different people who come on in and kind of have fun with us. I help kind of bridge the decisions of what we're going to do next, how we engage the world around us, and calling on experts to do different trainings for us. We have obviously a slew of trainings that came through this year and are going to continue. And Danny's still going to be doing one in September. On what again, Danny?
Kingdom Hearts and Mindfulness.
That's right, we are. It's going to be fantastic, and I'm very excited about that one. But we also are the ones who opened up the Therapeutic Game Master program, which is really kind of like the most comprehensive thing that we've seen out there. And it's been going amazingly well. I think we just filled up our August cohorts, and we're already filling up our September cohorts right now, which I think we're going to be able to do 3 in September, depending on need. But it's been a blast so far. And obviously, follow us everywhere on Geek Therapeutics. We have our Kickstarter starting on September 1st, which is going to be absolutely bananas. It's in review right now with Kickstarter, and they've already done a preliminary check, and they don't really see anything wrong with it. So we are just waiting for that official okay. But starting Sunday, everyone's going to start getting our 30 days of dice, as Aaron likes to call it. And Daniel, I don't know when your next presentation is. When do you want to do one? It'd have to be in 2022 now. We're like crazy booked up. Oh my gosh, we're crazy. Half of 2022 is filled up with trainings already.
Oh,
that's insane. But I'm available every morning or evening. Like if you just want me to do like a random, like what pop-up presentation.
Kind of like that's like a pop-up restaurant, right?
Yeah, so we'll take a D20, we'll write down 20 different video games, and we'll write down 20 different clinical approaches. Like Danny rolled Kingdom Hearts and Mindfulness, and then that'll just be how we figure out what I'm doing.
I mean, we could definitely do that.
If we're talking about non-prime time trainings happening, there is one that we all could do or get behind.
How to burn it down with
Oh, his
Digimon.
Digimon. I told you, it just has to become a little bit more popular, and we can make that happen. But Digimon is so good. Why don't you tell us about Digimon, Danny? I mean, let's get this started. It's a childhood
Wait,
dream.
I thought Digimon ended 20 years ago.
They rebooted.
No, they just confirmed a season 2 of the reboot.
Mm-hmm.
If I may, the Digimon card game is growing in popularity. It's starting to get up there, and a lot of my friends are playing it. I've been hearing about it. I think that it's ready for a resurgence.
Oof.
I have a feeling we're actually going to probably call you, Adam, for a training on Magic the Gathering of how to play
Ah,
and how to do
Oof.
that type of stuff. And
so
Daniel's
much,
like, I will
so much to
fight
say.
you in this.
After the Pokemon book, Tony, obviously we have to do a Digimon book.
I don't know if we're gonna get to Digimon on that one. Um,
Okay.
but let's talk. We can always talk about it. That's half the fun. But I think that one of the big things of what we're kind of doing here tonight is how do we use these different type of cultural artifacts within a therapeutic integration. And we've mentioned so many of them already. We've mentioned Final Fantasy, we've mentioned Digimon, Pokemon, Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy Online. I mean, where board games have been mentioned. I mean, where do you guys want to start? That's half the fun is even just choosing a place to start.
Do we want to
I
roll a die?
Yeah,
I
I
did
can
want
do a big roll.
I don't have my
I did
dice here on my
want
desk.
to
Go on.
a quick plug about the Geek Therapeutics cards.
Mhm.
Those are excellent and amazing
Okay.
conversation starters. That if we integrated those into this, yes, there we are.
Gonna pull one out.
Just boom,
Yeah, pull
like
them out.
like like a deck
It's
of
not open
wonders.
yet.
He hasn't
Mint.
had a chance had a chance to open it yet.
I was so mad when I ripped the top of my box trying to open it.
we're
Oh, I
gonna
hate when that happens.
we're gonna change that on the next printing of them. We're gonna make it a magnetic
Good.
box.
Oh my god. Okay, well.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
So that'll be a fun
More to
change.
buy.
Uh, not purposely. It just we found the way to get it done within our stuff right there. But yeah, let's talk about I guess board games. Let's start there because I think all of us have played them on some level. And how do we kind of engage our clients in these types of different ways? And I use chess, card games, pretty much anything board games. You can do duet play with RPGs. D&D is wonderful in duet play. But where do you guys want to kind of like start a character creation? How do we build these different scenarios for people? And we make it like Lord of the Rings and Gandalf, you shall not pass. I'm going to give us a point for that.
I mean, that's something I definitely need to get better at. Character creation when I was a fairly new D&D player with a bunch of fifth graders was really hard because it's hard to really explain that.
Mhm.
I actually just bought a new game on a Wednesday at my where I play one shots on Wednesday nights called No Thank You Evil.
Ooh, it's a good one.
Yeah, I'm really excited to try it out. I'm going to play test it with my speech therapist and my social worker before we start. But I like how their character creation can be scaled down to just a sentence. So, like, your character can be like, I am a robot, or it can be like, I am a space robot for kind of medium and hard levels. I work with a lot of students with significant difficulties or disabilities too, like all ends of the autism spectrum and different speech disabilities. I co-treat with my speech therapist a lot. So anytime I can modify and kind of simplify things, it works out really well because it's just more avenues to get the kids in.
How do you kind of engage the students who might have a little bit more difficulty with social engagement or being able to run in that capacity?
Um, I do a lot of meeting them where their interests are. So if they're like perseverating
Danny's
on
like, ha ha ha, yes.
Yes, we work with very similar populations.
well, my school also has a behavior classroom. So I have we call it integrated learning center for our lower functioning students, but we also have a behavior development classroom too. So I have the kids before they come to you, Danny.
Uh, we have a whole BCBA department. Every
Oh.
kid has a BCBA
Oh my God.
and BIP.
I wish I could work with BCBAs all day. um, yeah, a lot of meeting them where their interests are at. A couple years ago, it was Pokemon and Pokemon cards, and me teaching them how the right way to play the Pokemon card game.
There's definitely a wrong way to play the game.
But also doing some of that too, and like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm going to use agility and jumping around, and just getting into like playing as Pokemon too. And I think one of the things I'm going to try out this year is using manga and anime with my students with autism to help with their emotion identification, because that's kind of somewhere where we always struggle, and they're used to seeing the same pictures over and over and over. So then they can identify that feeling in that picture, but it's not generalizing. So hopefully using all
that's
this will help
that's a
generalize.
really good tactic, because as we know with anime, however, which Danny, you can slap me for that one. The when we use those and we look at the different types of characters that are out there, they actually do an over exertion of emotional content, which makes it a lot easier to recognize than what we do over here. So if I'm just staring at someone's gonna be like, I don't know what you're thinking. I can't decipher that per se. Eyes up here. The thing that anime really does a great job at, and I'm sounds like you're going to use those cards or those facial structures to kind of like
Mm-hmm.
help them understand, like, what is this person kind of feeling right now? How do we engage this a little bit differently?
Yeah. There was another board game put out by a company. Oh shoot, I don't remember the company. The board game is called Emotes.
Ooh.
Um, and it's a therapeutic board game. And when I first bought it, I bought it at a school psych conference years ago. They were like, I don't think you can play this with like younger than middle school. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try. I'll adapt it. It's like Cranium except with feelings, and these cute little like plushy feelings guys called the Emotes, and we play that like kindergarten through fifth grade regularly, so much so that I have to buy a different copy of my game now because mine is falling apart.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Not
I,
me emailing it to my directors right now, saying, let's get this.
Emotes by Evergrow.
I'm looking it up right now. Their website is taking the sweet time to load up on my end.
But their loading screen is a helix loading, and it's really cool. It's like lime green. It's like the Disney villain green.
We all just like Googled it simultaneously. That's probably why
Yeah.
the site is
It's
shutting
probably
down.
like it can only handle 3 people at a time, not 6. Oh, there we go. Oh, those plushies are cool.
Yeah, I have like 5 of the plushies. I have the game. We have the book set. Just like out of needing something new. The other thing I've been playing for years is Forbidden Island, where you like it's a game where you put the island together out of different cards, and as soon as you get on it, it starts sinking. So you have to kind of use all those executive functioning skills to like keep the island from sinking underneath you, but also collect treasures, and you have to work together and communicate. Um, and my kids love that. Um, and so like whenever I don't want to plan something like super intense for them, I'm like, oh, we'll just take out Sink Island, because that's what they call it. They never remember Forbidden Island.
Sink Island. I love it. It's loading more information on this one. How would you kind of use a curiosity, kind of like a card game in a sense, just like a regular deck of cards? Would you be able to decipher something in the moment? How would you? What are some ideas that people could even just do without having to, let's say, buy one of these board games or something like that? Just really quick and simple.
Oh yeah, if you have Candyland or Uno, that's super simple. Just assign a certain topic to the color. So like, okay, red is we're going to talk about when we feel angry. So the questions could be like, what makes you feel angry? What does your body feel like when you feel angry? So whenever you play a red card, you have to answer one of those types of questions or stop on a red space. Green, when do you feel happy? Blue, when do you feel sad? And we do a lot of that too, just kind of making up those get to know you color based. You can find a lot of that stuff for free on the internet too. I do a lot of Googling and borrowing.
Which is
with just the
perfectly
simple things.
acceptable.
Yes.
Danny, what about you? How do you kind of utilize some of this stuff in once they reach you?
Once they reach me, focus is the whole battle.
Uh-huh.
So I spend lots of my day talking about Smash, consulting with teachers to you're upsetting the students because you are saying pit wrong. And then this happened today actually. So we were talking about our Smash memes, and I wrote cloud instead of cloud. Kids had a fit. I was like, whoops, sorry. I was like, I swear, I actually played Final Fantasy VII unlike you, but
Burn.
Oh,
so it's always that's all we talk about. It's just the way we get them just drawn in, which is also half of what I have to do outside school now, is just like keep up with what they're into.
How
So-
difficult is it for you to actually do that? Keep up with what you're expecting them to come back in? Because you obviously are expecting a fall crowd to come in soon, and like how vast did these interests change?
Well, my school's year round, so they're still there.
Oh, well, that makes it even better for you. You're like, I can just keep up going every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me know what they're into so I can start watching the anime now.
Well, actually, if anyone, Heather is one of like the best anime like upkeepers, and lots of patent pendings are trademark pendings. Which one is it?
Patent. Oh no, trademark. It's trademark pending.
On so many like great anime techniques.
It's totally worth it. What kind of anime would you kind of been watching there lately, Heather, or have been using? Because I know you're seeing a lot of different types of clients.
Yeah. So one of those trademark pending techniques there is what I've deemed the Ayazawa method. So for My Hero Academia fans, one of the teachers at UA, his name is Ayazawa, and his quirk or superpower, if you have not watched the show, is that if he looks at someone else with a quirk, as long as he maintains eye contact with them, their quirk disappears. But the second he loses eye contact, the quirk is back. So I've been using that in my practice, mostly with my adolescents who are struggling with depression or anxiety, just negative thinking. Most specifically, 12. This is how I kind of came up with it. 12-year-old boy who was struggling with suicidal thoughts, depression. Loved My Hero Academia. Wanted to be like Ayazawa. I asked why. He said it's because he loves his power and he wished he had a power like that. So I said, well, why not? You could have his power. So we started looking at thoughts as quirks and looking at it as if, if you acknowledge it, then you can make that disappear, that negative thought disappear. But it's not to say that it's gone forever, right? Constantly getting thoughts all of the time. But if we can focus on it and make that choice to make it disappear, you can have Aizawa's power. So
that's a really cool technique, and it's out of the box thinking.
Yeah, I like literally came up with it on intake when he was like going on about My Hero, and I was like, oh wow, I am gonna have so much fun with you.
Daniel, what is kind of like what are the things that you kind of really like to use? I know you're going to say Final Fantasy or something else.
Well, at this point, yeah, I mean, at this point, there's so many different things. So that Final Fantasy VII comment really got me because I just recorded a lecture for my grad students where I equated several clinical traits from person-centered counseling to different characters in Final Fantasy VII and talked about the transcendent conversation, like a conversation where you feel like you're in the flow of the live stream. And I think all of my students are going to hate it and ask, why did you give this lecture to us? But for the 3 that love it, I think that they'll remember it for the first 20 years of their counseling careers. Um, and that's all that matters. I don't care about the people that hate it
when
much.
when
Like,
when when I teach about geek therapy to my classes up in Framingham State, I've been doing this for years. Is we utilize that, and I actually make them do a presentation where they have to teach a concept back to me, and they have to use geek culture in a way to explain the phenomenon. And so I think that what you
yeah,
just did with the live stream, I'm like, man, that's genius to be able to
I
use as flow.
right. I was just it's an idea that's been alive inside me for months, and then I just decided, you know what? There's no way to get this better. I have to record it and then just give it to my class. And if I need to make it better in a year, then I can go back. Anyway, but with clients, I think what happens most organically is the idea of assigning stats and deciding how you level up different categories of the hero that you are in your life. So basically take everything that they are willing to grind for in an RPG and kind of shatter it a little bit and say, you know, you're never going to be able to, you know, join with the crystal at the core of the universe, like in Philia. But you know, if you really want to level up your relationships and friendships, you know, maybe you can initiate one conversation this week. Or what do you think would make you feel more capable in this area? And talking about how skills take a progression starting with very bad at it, and how you have to do the level 1 missions and 2 and 3, 4, 5 and 20 and 25 before you get to max level and end game in anything. And I think a lot of people that I work with are not the child population. They're actually you know, college age through established adulthood, and just wanting to get to things in a way too easy way, you know, thinking that, you know, you're willing to grind for 45 hours to get to this one point in a game, but you know, you're upset yourself for not being at somewhere 5 years down the track of your career uh, by your first summer at this location. And so just using RPG elements with other things that we know as clinicians to use, things like a life balance wheel. That's basically RPG kind of psychology, just it's not fun yet. So I try to make it fun for them and try to help them see that their actions during the week matter, that their internal world and the motivations that are intrinsic matter probably more than the extrinsic ones, that the world has made sure you have to be aware of this. And so just trying to give them a more balanced outlook, and things function in video games for a reason, because our mind wants to believe that's how life works.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can retain our imagination in adulthood and say, actually, it does work like that, we just have to translate a few things and be willing to grind.
Oh
It's
yeah.
very true. I actually really like the idea of what you kind of put forth. And you do this constantly, is the idea of sometimes we have to grind at life in order to level up. And I think that we see that with board games, with anime, with other stuff, is even with Deku in My Hero Academia, he has to continuously grind at something to make something better. And otherwise he can't use a certain percentage of his ability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
One of the things,
Tanjiro
oh,
too in Demon Slayer.
Yeah, I was thinking the
Yeah.
same thing.
And those
one
are
of the
just two
things I
really easy ones.
constantly go when I need to do sort of a narrative approach and talk about, when do heroes have the triumphant moment? And I think a lot of people in therapy want their whole life to be this triumphant, ultimately happy moment. And so I try to point out to them that, you know, if you can imagine your entire year or your entire school year like it's a book, and Harry Potter, by the way, is a really excellent frame for this, because it literally
Gryffindor.
is the school year as a book. And so I try to use my cunning Slytherin tactics to trick them into being happier than they actually are. But anyway, uh, um, anyway, where was I going? Oh, so we talk about when is Harry ultimately going to have the triumphant moment in the book, and they say, well, usually it's only the last 1 or 2 chapters, and some of the books, not even then, because bad things happened in the final chapters. I was like, that is so excellent. So you want your life to be just incalculably more successful than a hero that saved their entire society eventually. And so that kind of backhanded assumption makes them realize, like, oh, and I was like, yeah, I mean, like, there are a lot of things about Harry's life that sucks. And ultimately, his struggle is to overcome each thing with ridiculous scenarios and people steering his life from the adult side. And so the idea with all of our stories, it doesn't have to just be Harry Potter. I use Lord of the Rings a lot too. Just anything where the hero has to go from some kind of beginning through a epic struggle and realize that you you have to endure the struggle, um, and do that with open-ended questions, do that with the client getting there at their own speed, but really trying to challenge them, like, what characters resonate with you in these stories, and I try to let them define the story, and then if they don't seem to get it, then sometimes we just work on finding one that will work. So lots of superheroes end up happening, or lots of video games that I've never played, but are cool with other generations of humans
But
at
one of
this
the best
point.
things about video games is if you know the genres well enough, you don't
Right.
have to play every game. I think that's the one of the biggest misnomers that's out there. You don't have to play every single game that's out there, and us as clinicians, that's like one of the biggest hurdles that are out there. To figure out what's going on in the game, what character you're playing, why is this game, why are you drawn to this, what is it giving you? And I think that's one of the big things that we always talk about is that sometimes you don't need to go through the full thing, but you sometimes need a taste of what it could be like.
You know what also is a
Absolutely.
good example of that? All the Barbie movies.
You're
Deep pull.
I mean, I'm gonna have to say some more here, Danny,
Well,
because
like, so in like the 25 movie Barbie series, Barbie Princess and the Pauper. It's just a retelling of the Princess and the Pauper, but that's one of the favorite ones because there's Barbie's more than one character. And like, first of all, the Barbie fandom's like blowing up this summer, and no one knows why. Especially because like the movies aren't coming back, even though it was rumored to. But and the fandom's just super strong. But everyone has like their movie that they like identify with and why. And every movie is super dramatic. Barbie's always doing something, trying to save the world from some curse, some villain. Barbie's a mermaid. She goes to the mermaid again, and then it crosses over with her Fairytopia series, like all this stuff. I haven't seen all the movies,
I
but
mean, I feel like Danny is like this black coat person in the corner of outside of the street light, being like, "Hey guys, want some Barbies? Like, want to talk about some Barbies here? Like, we're gonna talk about this right. Let's do this." And then he's like, "Oh, you don't want Barbies? Okay, okay. Here's Digimon. You want to do Digimon? Let's do Digimon." As you hold it up, you already have it in your hands.
I do.
Wow. I mean, that's impressive. Adam, what about you? What are you kind of seeing as transformative for not just you, but also some people that you potentially work with? And do you want to kind of like explain a little bit? I know what you do. Want to explain a little bit of what you kind of do and how it kind of comes into play a bit?
Well, so family-based therapy marginally just works on with another counselor and trying to go into people's homes and provide interventions, avoid crisis events, and kind of work forward, moving with what is it, ESFT, and structural family therapy, things like that. I think that to integrate, I haven't had the opportunity, but to integrate tabletop RPGs, or in a lot of cases, what Daniel is talking about, which is above all mindfulness. I really think that that is stressed a lot. Is that we have a tendency to think of the Campbellian narrative as the beginning and the end, the hero going into the other and then returning, and that's it. That's all change, great, that's what I want. But the unfortunate part is we miss the entire rest of the cycle, which is growth and seeking this growth. And in fact, the journey being the destination is something. And unfortunately, and I actually might take a little bit from his pages to bring up Harry Potter because it is such a cultural touchstone, regardless of its implications. And that is, we need to realize that it's not just the last two chapters of this book. It is every chapter in between, and experiencing and falling in love with those pages that make us earn that trip. And I wouldn't say earn, I wouldn't say even deserve, I would say just that it just comes about. It just comes about growth. I often talk about how I'm a huge fan of Dark Souls. I'm such an Elden Ring stan right now that don't get me started. But I talk about how it got me through a very difficult period in my life, that it was challenging, facing a lot of these challenges, and they were coming up in my personal life. Me being able to contemplate these feelings that I had towards working on my self-worth, depression, professional life, and advancing my soul level to beat these bosses in a game that is universally touted as being difficult. And to say like, oh, it's a game. Well, yeah, it's a game, but to you, it's more than that. To everybody, it's more than that. And to say that, you can extrapolate that to life. And so beating that, I felt like I had accomplished something more than, graduating. And you only count yourself among individuals who have beaten this game, and you like want to hang a star and you say, yes, I beat it, because it's such a built-in sense of achievement. And I think that that's something that we can all genuinely relate to, that these games provide us with genuine senses of triumph and can sometimes help us mirror a lot of the behaviors and other I guess problems that we might be dealing with, but eventually overcoming.
I think you spoke very well to it, and I see Daniel ready to grab on and continue with
Yeah,
that.
I know, I'm ready.
I want to try to link that and give it back to Heather, actually, because she's missing some raid time to be here.
She
But
is.
I frequently tell people that are rating high tier content in online games that you can basically do anything in life, academic, workplace, career oriented, that you're exhibiting such a calm in the presence of highly stressful circumstances to execute mechanics, clearly communicate, be in the right place. And I think that talent wise, a lot of raiders that find success in games like that um, probably are more talented than what we think of professional athletes being able to do with their bodies on a physical court, because the challenges of video games can do things that our minds don't naturally have to think about telling our body to do. We have to also inhabit the entire skill set and all the mathematics underlying our character class. And Adam, Demon Souls was out
Oh man.
when I was a doc student, and my professor in my very first class was talking about the rate of completing the dissertation for doc programs nationwide, and I looked at her and said probably the dumbest thing I've ever said to a professor. I said, "You don't have to worry about me. I'm going to finish it. I beat all my games on the highest difficulty." And that was probably because I was in the middle of grinding Demon Souls instead of working really hard to be the best counseling educator I possibly could be in the future. So, Heather, I'm just wondering what you think about the psychological implications of rating.
Oh wow, I lived it, and I'm currently living it. I mean, when you were speaking, Adam, the first thing that popped into my head that really got me into all of this was World of Warcraft. So, I was struggling back then, a lot of trauma that I was working through, and World of Warcraft really helped me to do that, as silly as that might sound for some people, especially because it was World of Warcraft.
I mean, the old stuff was good. This new
old
stuff is
stuff was
crap, but the old stuff was like,
Yes.
oh my god, it's so good.
So when I say World of Warcraft, I mean vanilla BC and Lich
Wrath.
King.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Watlick,
Wrath.
yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's what I'm talking about.
As soon as
and
you
I'm
go
not
past
talking
that,
about,
nothing.
I'm not talking about classic. I'm talking about like this stuff was coming out. So that's where I experienced it at first, where I play healer in all the games that I play. So Daniel, I'll get to that point about all the mathematics and
I used to be a
everything.
healer. Now I just
Oh,
burn it down.
Yeah. You know what though? I am a big fan of playing a healer who has like a huge taste for damage and is like in conflict with that. And sometimes
There is no
will
conflict.
yeah. But back to the rating, yeah, huge sense of accomplishment when you're defeating bosses for the first time that are essentially really difficult. I'll speak more on Final Fantasy on that because it takes a lot longer, I feel, to defeat the bosses in that game. But not only that, but working my way up the ranks in guilds, becoming an officer, managing raids, raid leading in that game, especially 40-man raids. Communication skills are a freaking must. So developing that, more so when I speak to now, especially what I'm doing now. So Daniel had said that I'm missing raid time. I am. Thanks again, guys. But
don't hurt us, please.
Yeah, don't hurt us. We are currently, we started late. I know this came out a while ago, but we are progging Ultimate T for anyone who knows what that is. But it is the hardest fight in the game at this point. We are almost done progging it. We're going to be looking at a clear really soon. And I am just imagining that sense of when you clear it, that sense of achievement where it's like, I don't know if anyone else would understand that. That's like outside of the game on how much that means to somebody, because we're dedicating a lot of time and effort into clearing these raids, right? I know I was posting like how many days I raid. It's 4 days out of the week, I think.
Oh,
It's a lot.
And
It's impressive.
Yeah. It used to be worse because I was playing World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy at the same time. So I was literally raiding like 6 days a week. It was like something like, it felt like 20 to 30 hours, like a week on top of like a normal work week. But now I think we're just down to 15 hours for Final Fantasy. And because it is an ultimate fight, we need a little bit more time.
Mhm.
But a lot of effort and time goes into it. Being a healer, it is a very stressful job. So learning how to manage your stress so that you're able to play at optimum level and people don't die. Like sometimes you let them die on purpose. But for the most
Don't step in the fire.
You
Don't
can't
stand in the
heal
fire.
stupid.
You
Get
can't.
out of the raid, damn black mages. No, but we don't have a black mage on our.
No, that's what I am, Heather.
No,
How-
and I'm a dragoon, so I'm like most hated.
Oh my god!
Oh, you're the floor tank, Lindsay.
Dragoon today like backflipped into the death wall at least 3 times tonight. It was the best. But
Tony,
yeah, black
we need to do
mages.
Geek Therapeutics Final Fantasy talk. Like
Yes.
we need a new stream. You have the talking heads already. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, I'm so here for that every week.
Every
But yeah,
week.
no,
Oh god.
that sense of achievement that you were talking about, Adam, that like, this is a really difficult thing. And when you look at it, I believe I have it posted in my Statics Discord, where they were showing how many people have actually completed these ultimate fights, and it's not a lot of people. So being a part of that community is kind of like a badge of honor where you walk. I wish I could put it on a resume, you know?
You can't.
You
We've
can't.
done that.
You're
We've
ultimate.
totally done that. It's in weird ways on my resume of like leadership qualities, of being able to
Yeah.
manage, of things like that. It's all about how do you phrase it? How do you do it? We do it with our clients. Why can't we do it with what we need to do to get there?
And kept
But
8 people alive, including a dragoon and black mage.
You know what? kept
The-
people normalized and it made sure that everyone was at peace.
Yes,
Ensured the
absolutely.
well-being of others on a team.
Check-ins with other
Yeah.
people.
organizing large teams for singular tasks on a weekly basis.
See, Daniel, this is all in Daniel sent me his.
daily.
He sent me his resume.
Language
it's
to
it's
do
all there.
whatever we want.
This is
Right?
perfect.
Us in
So-
special ed certainly know that too.
Oh yes.
I want to talk about that accomplishment. I want to bring it into a place where it matters in therapy and not just inside 14 or WoW.
Yeah.
Inside positive psychology, we talk about flow a lot, and we talk about the ability for our
Mhm.
mind to merge with a meaningful activity that taps all the way into the core of our being, including our purpose and our value system. And so you see this a lot with people doing musical instruments or some kind of performance. And I
Yep.
use this point with adults and with loved ones and couples all the time, that if your spouse was this dedicated to playing guitar, you wouldn't tell them, stop playing the guitar, OMG,
Yeah.
and then bleep, bleep, bleep at them.
Mhm.
You would be excited that they have a craft and an art form and something that is a part of their being. That comes from flow. And so educating the player about flow and then the people in their life about what the positive emotional and psychological benefits of having something where you can tap into that, and explain how video games help that happen. But Fiero is also a Csikszentmihalyi positive psychology concept. And so anyone who, if people still remember what Heroes was, you know, that yata
Yeah,
in the middle of
Yes.
Times Square, right? That moment, that image, that's a singular moment of someone feeling a complete congruent bridge between their purpose and their existence. And when the raid boss dies that you've put 40 hours into for 3 weeks or 3 months.
Mhm.
Yeah, more like 3 months right now.
Okay. Well, I've been on some bad teams, so that's why I put a year out there. So
He's been managing it for a year.
right. So you can't really explain that to people who don't perform in any context and are stuck doing this 9 to 5 that they hate, and they just clock out and check out, and it's not really who they are. And I talk with so many people that the way I feel about counseling, mental health, and psychology, and also video games, fictions, and fandoms, those are so important to me that all of it is really like, who is Daniel Kaufman? All of that, like, it's a person who just has those things flowing through him. That's my life stream. That's the force all around me. And so when the boss dies, it's like that meant something. Just like getting an email that says your manuscript has been accepted for publication.
Yes.
But again, another thing that a lot of people don't understand. So it's like, oh, I explained it with the raid boss. Oh, I explained it with a publication. Oh, I explained it with like your wedding day. Oh, you still don't get. Well, I guess you have never done anything that had purpose. So that's what we have to work out in therapy now. But TLDR, killing raid bosses matters.
I feel like 14 is like 14 is my only MMO. So like I've tried WoW, and what brings me back to 14 is the community.
Yes.
So there's a lot of ways for you to feel accomplishment in 14 too. There's obviously like completing raids and killing raid bosses and progressing through the story. But one of
Getting the best outfit.
That's yes. Glam is endgame for anyone who
Yes.
doesn't know.
I still need to figure out glam too, because I take such long breaks from the game. But
I'll
like,
help you with that.
one of the biggest things is I'm almost afraid to get to a certain part of the story because I'm so dependent on the Sprout Network, the Novice Network. And I feel like being a mentor in the Novice Network too is a way you can feel accomplishment in the game too, is like, oh, I helped this person like get used to it. Like this person didn't give up after they, you know, flipped off the edge fighting a dungeon because they're a dragoon and they do backflips all the time.
I have a different experience about Novice Network as a mentor.
Really?
There's a lot of you don't pay my sub in that.
Oh. Yeah, and I felt really supportive. I played beta of 14 to the first dungeon, and it was, oh god, I don't even remember what it was. I think it's like embers. And you can fall off the edge, and I didn't know you could
Oh yeah, Titan.
Yeah, Titan.
Yeah, it's a trial, not so much a dungeon, but
yeah.
Fallen Embers, yeah.
Yeah, I fell off the edge, and my
yeah
just like yeah, and I'm like, this is my first time playing with other people, and you're yelling at me, and I didn't know what I was doing. So when they instituted Novice Network, it was like a big relief for me because there were people there that like you didn't have to play with the people that would yell at you for falling off an edge by accident when you were a brand new player.
Which is a good thing. That's something that like video games really need to kind of start instigating a little bit more. It's some of that ability to help out the other people, but also how do we kind of get that situated in a manner to foster growth, to foster a change.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what we're missing a lot.
I agree with you though, Lindsay. Sorry.
Oh, no.
I agree with you though, Lindsay. I mean, out of all the MMOs or, you know, of that genre that I've played, Final Fantasy has the nicest community to start with. League being most toxic, I think we'll all agree.
Danny's about to be like, yep.
WoW is a close second. WoW is a close second. I actually beta tested Ion and played for a little bit. If you guys have heard of that game, the community in there wasn't too bad, but you know, we were all starting out and then I didn't really pick it up. But Final Fantasy has a really nice community. Even outside of the Novice Network, I get it in the beginning with, you know, Embers, and that was annoying. I remember that fight. I was on a very crappy PC when I was playing that, and I would get knocked off all the time, and it was just because of lag.
Mm-hmm.
But
and I was playing on PS4, so I didn't have a keyboard for my PS4 yet, so I was like,
so hard.
I can't.
Is
like,
that how they do it? Is that how they do it? Because like I don't know how you play on like a console. Is it?
You pull up, you can type with your controller, and I got real good at controller typing for a while. But even when I got a keyboard, like it's still like I have to like put down my controller and type really quick and then pick up my controller again.
Lindsay, you can accomplish anything in life.
It's all those executive functioning skills, really.
Well, I mean, like, but it's true though, because like you have the controller, you're navigating the controller, right?
Yeah.
If I told you that I was navigating 50 different keys during one fight, like that might sound insane to you. Like I'm doing like 50 to 60 different keys. Yeah. I have a gamepad, a like what 15 button mouse, and then
I have that. Yeah.
Yeah. See, this is
I actually rate things with the mouse too, so I don't have to use my keyboard to score something. I just use the numbers.
Yes.
Best thing ever. You know, just to bring it back to therapy too, I think that actually MMOs right now aren't the things that a lot of my clients play. It's lots of Valorant and lots of League.
Mm-hmm.
Or Apex. Apex is big too.
Apex, yeah. I have had some of that. And I just wonder, you know, since we're all collected here, I mean, I don't know what other people's caseloads are unless I'm in a conversation like this. Is that representative? Is that what?
Yeah.
No.
Fortnite.
Minecraft.
Fortnite. I don't work with kids though.
Yeah.
Right. I don't work with kids. And so I haven't crossed paths with Fortnite since I left all the kids somewhere in the wilderness.
Yeah, it's huge.
Oh, let's not call CPS on him.
Down
it's
this last year.
still huge.
No.
with the younger kids, with kids, not
They
with
still
not
sell the action
yeah.
figures at Target.
Nobody's into
With
action
that.
figures
I'm gonna have to ask you, Daniel. Is that how you determine relevancy if it still sells at Target?
anymore.
Target is an amazing thing, Tony.
Struck a nerve.
I did. I did.
You know what's oddly coming back somewhat? RuneScape.
Digimon? Oh.
Yeah, no, you're
You were gonna
right
try to
though,
put that one
Danny.
back.
Yeah, like RuneScape is like somehow creeping its way back in. And I logged into my account from 2004. It's still there.
Time to dust off mine.
But I kind of because we're gonna kind of wrap up right here a little bit, but I kind of want everybody to kind of be like, what's your favorite tool to use in the game itself? And you can't say the Geek Therapy card deck because that's unfair. Adam's like, all right, all right.
I
uh,
use Wii Bowling
Ooh,
all the time. Because if you think about it, we're working on motor skills, we're working on executive functioning, we're working on cooperating because I only have 2 Wiimotes. So if there's 4 people, we have to share Wiimotes. Um, and we're working on not being good at something right away and managing that frustration, and cheering for our friends.
it's awesome. Good one. Who wants to go next? I'll go next.
No.
Fine. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Heather. Go. Do it. You take it. You spoke up.
Yeah, I think for me it's a combination of anime and video games. I think that's what I'm best known for right now. A lot of trademarks.
uh, Mine is the Legend of Zelda. I love making clients play that, especially off of the Switch, where you have to play it as 2 player. And I'm like, oh no, I want to look this way, or no, I'm going to run this way. You better look towards it, creating a co-op experience. But also the idea of you have to sometimes gain additional things in order to progress further is one of my favorite things to work with them. So they kind of relate it a little bit back to the concepts of life. Sometimes we have to work a little bit harder. But going back to the grinding talk and stuff that we were talking a little bit about earlier, is sometimes
Yeah.
it just takes a little bit longer to do it. We don't live in a world where it's just given to us each time. Even though if we go to the donut shop, we can buy a baker's dozen and it's delicious. Terrible. Danny's like, now I want donuts. See it in his eyes.
No, I'm
want
trying to
donuts.
think of what I like to use.
I would say it builds on a lot of the psychological concepts of momentum, building this momentum we talked a lot about. Being able to complete things in a video game doesn't seem like it's a huge deal to a lot of other people, but to us, it's huge. And with society minimalizing these kind of feelings that we have, I feel like we need to be the ones to celebrate that these are achievements. And it's easy to get kind of lost. I forget sometimes that I'm like, oh yeah, I slayed a dragon. I killed Smo and Ornstein on New Game Plus 4. That was awesome. Like I can do anything. And we forget about that. And I really want to cheek set me high. I absolutely love positive psychology. I own the book. I absolutely love that. But to get back to Tony's question, in terms of intervention, I think that Mario Kart, oddly enough,
Oh,
on the
so
Switch,
good.
frustration tolerance, has a built-in catch-up mechanic. Regardless of how you're doing well, you can still
There
lose.
still
There's
means
a lesson in there.
nothing here.
He didn't say Mario Party, so we're fine.
My, yes, Mario Kart. Thankfully, Mario Kart 8's excellent, and with that, it's a very, very portable, very easy. Just take the Joy Cons off, and boom, you got 2 controllers, and it's also great incentive. It's a great incentive based thing, and it works on being a grateful winner and a sore and a grateful loser. Those are things that we definitely, because bad stuff happens regardless of whether or not we tried our hardest. You can still get blue shelled if you're in first place. You can still get bullet bill if you're in last. And these things are things that we all have to kind of keep in mind.
With that in mind, you can teach people with academic struggles that they don't need, or perfectionism struggles, is you don't need an A+. In fact, that gets you into more trouble later. Aim for a nice little A. Be second place
Or that
until the
C,
end.
Daniel. That C. That way, when you get
Yeah.
that B, you're like, yeah, I beat my average.
Yeah,
Perfect
that's
is the
right.
enemy of the good, right?
Right? Yes.
So many perfectionist as students right now. Like, I'm definitely going to use.
Well, our school system kind of forces them to think that way and doesn't provide an alternative. And video games actually are awesome for that alternative. Oh, I know my answer. Devil May Cry is
Oh.
actually okay. So this game actually is another one from those formative years of me as a psychology person. And so I was talking with a 16-year-old kind of recently, and they were just being incredibly rude to their parents and not doing chores and staying in the room and only doing screen things all day. And when they would come out, they would just have a terrible attitude. And then he mentioned Devil May Cry. And I was like, well, isn't there a combo system in Devil May Cry? And I know the answer to that. He's like, yeah. And I was like, so what's the difference between doing your combos well and not? He's like, style points. You get a rating at the end of the level. I was like, oh, so it's not just about beating the level, it's about how good you look doing it. And he stumbled into my trap. And I was like, so if you go and load up the dishwasher, but you scream your head off at your mom and curse at her, doesn't that mean that you finished the level, but you kind of sucked while you were doing it? And so I got him to accidentally agree to do his week with better style points.
Give him a grade at the end of it?
Well, he didn't get a triple S that particular session.
All right.
That's a good way of introducing a different type of concept, but also pulling the video games into the real life of this is exactly how things kind of happen, and a good way to reframe stuff.
That's more what I do. I don't actually play games with people. Although after this conversation, I think I'm going to have to figure that out.
Switch. The Switch is the best thing in the world to utilize.
But I'm not going to be in the same room with them either. So that's the other obstacle for
you
me.
got Roblox. I use Roblox with my children, my adults too. I force them to play like mining simulator, and they're like, "This is so boring." I'm like, "That's because you're not paying attention to what is it bringing you. You are on a task that has no real purpose, and you're just supposed to be doing the task, and so we can kind of move forward, and so you have a completion ability."
Wouldn't some argue that that is what life is, Tony?
Some might argue that if we were going to go into the existential route, yeah, that is definitely. I feel like I would argue that, and I feel like Frankel would agree with us.
Whoever has a why can endure anything, Tony.
Yeah, talk to my 4-year-old.
Why?
Why, Daddy? Why? It's because it's what we have to do. Why? And I'm like, oh God, it starts.
I actually used Among Us over remote learning to really great effect. Working with a student with autism whose main problem was being able to read all this. And we're playing, and it was my speech therapist, one other student, and my social worker, and we're all playing in the room. And all of a sudden, my kid goes, "Well, Miss Grove, you're the imposter." And I'm like, "What? How did you figure this out, kid?" And he's like, "Well, your face turned red." I'm like, darn it, you figured me out, but oh my God, you just like read a nonverbal cue.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yatta!
I feel like I need to write a paper on Hero from Heroes now. I'd forgotten about all that.
I feel like I need to put this stream into my classes I'm teaching and just say, watch this, and that's my contribution to the flow.
That's what you mean by heroes, like Hayden Panettiere.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
Thomas Dekker. I was so lost.
Masahiro Oka.
Masahiro Oka, yeah.
And you said Fierro, and I thought we were talking about Wicked. I was so lost like parts of tonight.
Welcome, Danny.
Which is actually my technique, by the way. My favorite technique to use is music. Because
say a little bit more.
Music is you could find music's everywhere. It's in every movie. It's in everything. You look up the scores, find out what makes a student tick, find out what they're into. Friday Night Funk is like the hopping thing right now too. So I use a lot of that music, and I'm like, okay, so which beat are you on right now? And we can like throughout the different songs. I don't know. My favorite's Avalovia, Descendants, any Disney Channel original movie. Use those all the time. Descendants also has a lot of fun metaphors. Oh, My Little Pony, Our Town, that song about how you will not have nightmares if you never dream. And it was like to instill that being different causes discourse and like, I don't know, super like pony communism stuff. But like go watch it. It's the seasons, episodes 1 and 2 of season 5, and you meet my favorite pony, Starlight Glimmer, but who's a school counselor later on, by the way. And I don't know, just always music. My head always goes to music, but I live my life as if it's a musical anyway. So
yeah, just watch our D&D streams. You'll see why. Well, how can people kind of like follow you or find out where you are if they want to kind of learn a little bit more about kind of like some of the techniques? And we'll do this again, and we'll do a little bit more like organized, I think, with like anime and TTRPGs, things like that, which we'll have fun discussions with. And Fallout, whoever said Fallout, yeah, we'll do Fallout. Let's do that. I'm all into that.
Oh God, I've put so many hours into Fallout.
So it's perfect. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Is like you're ready for it.
Between that and Skyrim, yeah. Anything Bethesda.
Yeah, don't glitch yourself into the werewolf area. Every time I try.
You can find me at Lodestar's Lagoon or the podcast, The Shape of a Star Podcast, where there's a Gmail, there's a Twitter. It's all The Shape of a Star Podcast, except for Twitter because you couldn't fit the word podcast in.
15 character crap.
Pretty much just Twitter for me. I'm MabelGirl3, MABLEGRL3. Talk a lot of wrestling and some geek therapy stuff, but a lot of wrestling on there too.
I feel like on the
Wrestling
Discord,
is
you're gonna have to,
amazing.
yeah, you're gonna totally have to like start. You're gonna be so surprised at how many people on this Discord will talk wrestling with you.
Tony, I still am like traumatized by the crickets when I asked if I could do a wrestling presentation, and then we settled on Journey, and I was like, oh, I guess Tony's not big on wrestling, but maybe the people, maybe I can be the people's champion of presenters.
Daniel, I will work on that with you. There's
co-present, tag team presenting.
Oh
Tony.
God, Adam's over there
ready
because his
here,
mind's
Lindsay.
going with dad jokes right now. He's like, let's go the bow, let's do this.
And Tony, if you don't want to watch, it's fine because you can't see me.
All right, John Cena. Speaking of Bethesda games.
I'm sorry, Lindsay. Please finish where we can find you. You just got me amped up way too.
Well, I'm glad there'll be more wrestling people. Really, mostly AEW wrestling. Hopefully soon we have Punk and Danielson coming.
Yeah,
sounds like we do. But mostly Twitter. I'm MabelGirl3, MABLEGRL3.
Is that from Gravity Falls or?
No, it's from a Goldfinger song from the 90s.
Oh, cool. Like,
so basically, since high school, everything's been Mabel.
Very cool. I kind of plugged myself at the beginning. I'm Snake, Elf, Druid, 3 words, all one word, cram them together on everything, Twitch, Twitter, that good stuff.
Okay, so I'm lame. I don't have those things. But you can
But you
find
raid.
me.
You raid. It's
but
important.
I raid. So you can find me in Final Fantasy 14 in Eorzea on Aether Data Center. Gilgamesh is the home world. But in 6.0, that won't matter, as we all know. World data travel. But you can also find me on Discord. It's DJ Starfire, number 8900. And I'm Starfire in the game. Starfire with 2 R's, so STARR and then fire.
For
regular
copyright
spelling
reasons.
of
That's right.
fire. Yes.
Copyright or trademark?
Yeah, I'm big on that. I'm big on copyright and trademark and all that. Yeah.
We have so many fun things to talk about here. You can find me. I'm on Twitter at Video Game Doc, but also pretty much if you're talking with Geek Therapeutics through email or something like that, you're probably talking to me. You just follow us on all social media everywhere, and be prepared for our fun Kickstarter, which is going to have 30 different sets of dice. It's going to be amazing.
Wait, Tony, don't turn off. I forgot to mention my podcast at the beginning. I'm at Dr. Gameology, and if you want to hear my ideas, kind of like the strange places we went tonight, the Gaming Persona podcast, we're about to record episode 40. We started last year. We're almost at 1 year. So
I'm so proud of you,
Bravo.
man. It's a big deal to do that.
yeah. We're just always talking about who we become when we play games.
Get back into a podcast or something.
Yeah.
Danny's like, I've got you covered. Well, everyone, thank you so much for coming on in, and we will see everyone soon.
Bye.
Hey, 2 weeks from now, back here